gentlemen, girls and boys, and assembled company of ghosts, ghoulies, witches, skeletons, otherworldly beings of all descriptions. Welcome to the World Storytelling Cafe. And tonight, as we approach Halloween or All Saints' Day, or whatever it is called, whichever part of the world you are in, I'm going to hand over for a very special otherworldly beings night to the one and only. I've just taken him from his coffin, breathed life into him, resurrected him, put his skeleton back inside his skinny frame. I pass over to the one and only David Heathfield.
Ooh. Thank you, Mr. John Rowe, and welcome everybody to Otherworldly Beings as we take a trip around this mysterious world of, as John said, demons, ghosts, spirits, monsters, ogres. But don't be too afraid. Let's hope that things turn out for the best. And we begin our journey around the world all the way in South Korea to our dear friend, An-suk Kim. An-suk, will you tell us a spooky tale from Korea?
Yes. Hello, my name is An-suk Kim. I am from South Korea. The title of my story is The Shinbon Ghost. I've heard this story from my friend, the storyteller, and I was really scared and I shouted, "Wah!" Don't be afraid too much. I will tell you this story. Once upon a time in Korea, there lived a salt peddler. You know, salt peddler carried heavy bag of salt on his back and visited village to village, door to door, and shouting, "소금 사려! 소금 사려! 맛 좋고 짭조름한 소금이 왔어요, 소금! Buy salt, buy salt. Here's sweet salty salt." One day, he stopped to rest. His legs and back hurt a lot. He sat down by a graveyard, and soon he was dozing. After a while, he awoke and looked around. He saw something strange on the ground. He picked it up. Oh, it looks like a human bone. Oh, this looks like my shin bone. And he played with it for a while, then put it back and walked down the street. But he heard some strange sound behind him. He looked back. It was the bone standing in the road. He walked fast. Then the bone walked fast. He walked slow. Then the bone walked slow. He stopped. The bone stopped. Oh, the bone kept following him. At sundown, he went to a tavern. The bone followed him into the room and lay down beside him. The next morning, as he got up, the bone got up and followed him out of the tavern. He was getting nervous and so scared. Oh, what should I do? Oh, this bone made me crazy. Ooh. Then he just went to the entrance of a village. and he saw a feast in the village. People carried a food basket into the feast. So he had an idea. He said to the bone, "Wait here and keep my salt bag safe. I would go to the feast and get us some food, rice wine and rice cake. Okay?" Then he walked down the road a few steps and he looked back. The bone did not move. It stayed there by the salt bag. He was so delighted and he went to the feast and get some rice wine and left the village by a different route. He never went to the place again. He went straight home and only traveled other areas. Many years passed. Then one day, he happened to pass the place again. He was curious. What happened to the bone? He decided to go to the spot and check. So he went there, looked around. There was no trace of the bone, only his old salt carrier, rotten and remained. Then he saw a small hut near the place. Oh, he didn't see the hut many years ago. So it was already late afternoon. He went to the hut and an old woman lived alone. So he asked for the knife. The woman welcomed him, and after they had supper, the old woman asked the salt peddler, "Please tell me a story. You must have heard a lot of interesting stories. Oh, I'm so bored. Please tell me a story." The salt peddler was embarrassed. He said, "Oh, I'm not a storyteller. I don't remember any interesting stories. No. And the old woman insisted, "Yes, tell me then your own story. You must have been through a lot of interesting events." "Yes, a strange thing happened to me." And then he started to tell the Shinbon story. Many years ago, I met a bone. Well, yes, it was a human bone and it looked like my shin bone. 그래서 I picked it up and played for a while, then put it back and I left. But I heard some strange sound behind me. 그래서 I walked fast. The sound walked fast. I looked back. Yes, it was the bone. I stopped, then the bone stopped. It followed me everywhere. 그래서 I went to a tavern to stay the night, and the bone followed me into the room and lay down beside me. And the next morning, I got up, the bone got up and followed me out of the tavern. It followed me everywhere. I was really scared. 그래서 I came to here and saw a feast. So I had an idea. I said to the bone, "Stay here and I will go and get us some food." Then I walked. The bone did not move. I was so happy. So I went to the feast and I left the village by another route and never came back. 그래서, but I happened to come nearby today and I was curious what became of the bone. So I came here and looked for the bone, but there was no trace of the bone. I wonder what became of the bone. Then, you know what the old woman said? She came closer and she said, 내가 바로 그 뼈다귀다! I am the bone! And slammed into the salt peddler. I don't know what happened next. You can guess. Thank you.
Oh,
He had a bone to pick.
That's so scary. I thought these stories were going to be for children who are watching. Oh, I hope you're okay. Yeah, of course you're okay. It's the adults who are scared, not the children. There are children watching all over the world. You're watching on Facebook. Maybe you're with us live. Maybe you're watching the recording with your teachers. Maybe you're watching on Facebook or YouTube with your family. I hope you're not watching on your own. Ooh, what's that? Thank you so much, Ansuk, the shin bone ghost from Korea. And now we are going to travel to the wonderful mountainous region of Asia, to the Himalaya, to Sikagurung, my dear friend, near Kathmandu. Sikagurung, are you going to frighten us?
I am going to frighten all of you, but right now I am myself frightened. Ansuk, oh my God. Thank you so much. I would like to start by telling Happy Halloween in advance to all the children, including my children in my country. I'm going to tell you a story of a young man, which I heard from my maternal grandmother. She always has been the source of my stories so far. But a very interesting incident happened this afternoon. I called her in Facebook Messenger and told her that I was going to tell the story that she had told me when I was a child. And interestingly, she told me to tell the story to her. You know, so because she had forgotten most of the stories that she had passed to us. So I had to tell her story to her. So that was quite an experience for me to tell her, you know, and she was listening like a child. And I was like her grandmother. So that was very good feeling today. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you, my dear children, a story of a young man
Sika,
called...
I'm
Yes?
worried. There's something behind you.
Yes, this is Rakshas.
Ah!
Yeah. And the title of my story is The Rakshas, the Demon and the Savior. So my story goes on like this. So there lived a young man called Gatte, or a foolish man. This man was called a Gatte abusively because he was a bit different from all other people in the village. But then, of course, we would not like to be told Gatte, you know, no one of us here would like to be called Gatte, a foolish person. So the villagers called him Gatte because they thought that he was different. He had a loud tone of voice. He walked a bit differently. And then he was, you know, they thought that he was useless, pathetic, useless. He could do nothing in his life. But they didn't realize that this really hurt the young man. And this man, within himself, he wanted to, you know, do something and prove himself and prove to the villagers that he was not useless at all. He was not gatte. He was a young man. So he decided, I am going to explore the world and do something to prove that I am not gatte at all. So the next day, he set out.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay. So he set out with a few things for his way that were available at his home. A teki of dahi. A teki of dahi is a pot of yogurt. A pair of tongs, that is chimta in Nepali, and aran, or a blacksmith's bellows. So those were the things available at his home, and then he set out with whatever he had. After walking for some days, he reached one fine day to a very strange village. Now, this village was very strange because it was unusually quiet. Where are the villagers? And why does this village sound so quiet? As Gotti was thinking to himself, a woman came running towards him, pulled him into her house, and then shut the door behind. She explained to Gotti that this village was terrorized by a Rakshas, a demon, who came every evening and dined on one villager. He had made their lives a hell on earth. When Gotti listened to this, he immediately got an idea. And he said, okay, dear woman, I am going to save you from the Rakshas tonight. Dum. 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 Came the Rakshas in the evening. Manusya ganayo. I can smell humans. Manusya ganayo. I can smell humans. But unlike other days, there came a roar.
Sika, turn on your microphone. You switched off.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. What happened? I don't know. So where was I?
Just
What
the
did you
last
hear?
couple of seconds. There was a roar.
Yes, thank you. Yes, there was a roar. That it was unlike the usual days when the villagers used to get scared. And, "Ooh, the demon is here, Rakshas is here, he's going to take one of us. Oh my God." Unlike that, a roar from inside the house shouted, "How dare you? Who is that who is shouting outside when I, the biggest, the mightiest Rakshas in the world, is present here? Who is that?" The Rakshas outside got surprised and replied angrily, "No, I am the biggest Rakshas in this world." But the Rakshas inside would not give up. He shouted, growled even louder and said, "No, I am the biggest Rakshas." This continued for some time. The Rakshas outside said, "I am the biggest one." The Rakshas from inside said, "No, I am the biggest one." So finally, this Rakshas from inside said, "Okay, if you think you are bigger than me or the biggest Rakshas in the world, then compete with me. Prove me that you are the mightiest." the Rakshas outside thought for a while and agreed to compete. So in the first round, the Rakshas inside challenged the Rakshas outside to show the nails, the nails, and to show whose nails were longer and more pointed. So, without any hesitation, the Rakshas outside put his nails through the holes of the door. Mocked the Rakshas from outside, and then thrust the pair of tongues from inside the door of the house. The Rakshas outside got shocked. He was just being shocked when the Rakshas from inside gave another challenge. Now, let's spit. Let's spit and see who can spit the most and the thickest. Spat the Rakshas outside. Is that all that you have inside your mouth? Growled the Rakshas outside. And splash! He put the pot of curd from inside the house on the floor in front of the Rakshas, which was white and thick. Oh my God, what is this? Who is he? Is he the real Rakshas? Thought the Rakshas outside to himself. By now, the Rakshas outside was so kind of terrified, Oh my God, who is this inside the house? And finally, the Gatte, who was the Rakshas for the Rakshas outside, challenged the third time and said, now, if you think you still have a chance and you can prove mightier than me, then come on. Let's see who can blow air the hardest and the longest for the longest time. Blew the Rakshas from outside the house. For the last time, the Rakshas inside gave a big laughter. Oh my God. Look at me. And he started blowing the bellows that he had, the blacksmith's bellows. Now it was enough for the Rakshas outside. He lost against the Rakshas inside for the third time. And this time he was so scared that he ran and ran. He turned back and he ran and he disappeared into the jungle and never came back. And from that day onwards, nobody called Gatte a Gatte, but respectfully called him the savior. Thank you.
Hey. Wow, Sika Gurung in Nepal, you have told us a wonderful story. So, the first story from Ansuk, the Shimbone ghost, was so scary. But fortunately, the Rakshas in this story could be defeated. Yeah. Oh, don't worry, Mariam. Don't worry, all you. Louis, are you okay? The monstrous Rakshas got beaten, Louis. So, are you happy about that? Yeah, fantastic. I agree with you. Wow, I've got to tell everybody, all of these wonderful storytellers around the world today are all really good friends of mine. I'm David Heathfield, and I run a course called CREST, Creative and Engaging Storytelling for Teachers. And all of the storytellers like Ansuk and Sika and the others you're going to meet today are all people who've done the course, but they were already fantastic storytellers, and they're here to share their stories with you. And on my courses, I want everybody who are teachers to be able to afford the courses. So sometimes I give free places to people who can't otherwise afford to do the course. So if you decide to go to the World Storytelling Cafe page and you find my name on the page and you put a little donation in my hat, this money will go to help a teacher who wouldn't otherwise be able to do a course to take the course. So there's an idea you can think about. Right now, we're going to go south from Nepal all the way down to the south of India to my wonderful friend Padmini Rangajaran. And Padmini, I think you're going to tell us another story about a Rakshas, but this time from maybe, well, do tell us. Over to you, Padmini. Oh my goodness, Padmini, turn on your microphone.
Oh,
Help!
I'm going to tell my story. I'm here hidden in this old well. No savior. But it's been Halloween time. Hope David Hatfield would come and rescue me. Ooh.
Oh, you really frightened us there, Padmini.
This story is from folktale of Tamil Nadu, southern part of India. I happened to learn the story from my father. So the story goes like this. In a village there lived Ramalingam. Ramalingam was a very kind-hearted farmer. But as the destiny was, he had got a toughest wife who was quite greedy and miser, unlucky. And she had the control over not only Ramalingam, but entire farm. They had a big farm of more than 1,000 acres. She would get all the work in her farm done free of cost. She would never pay, never allowed Ramalingam to pay. And as everyone came to know about her, nobody was prepared to work in the field. They said, no. Ramalingam field, never go, never go, never go, never go, never go. His wife will make you to work like a donkey. She'll not pay. So nobody went. And this wife made Ramalingam to work. If nobody is coming, you are there here. You can go and work. Such a big farm. Big long days. Ramalingam worked. But he couldn't do it. With lots of weeds and other plants and bushes, and it was terrifying. There were lots of snakes, there were lots of scorpions, all those creatures entering, crawling. And she said, I don't know all that. I want the fields to be clear. And I had a tough time. As he went on clearing, he had one good friend. That was his dog. His dog followed everywhere, wherever Ramalingam went. So as he was clearing the fields, he went and went and went. He went so deep because he had not seen his own field. It was so big. There was an old well. And inside the well, there was a voice coming out. Help me, help me, help me. Ramalingam never knew about it. He went and he looked inside. Such an old well. The water looks clear. Who is inside? Hello? Who is inside? Me. Jibumba, help me. Ramlingam said, how should I help? Just put your hand, you can pull me up. So he put down his hand and he pulled, came out Jibumba. Oh, as soon as the Jibumba came out, he said, you pulled me out. Now you have to feed me. Otherwise, I'm going to eat you. He said, what will you eat me? And what can I fill your belly? Go and eat my wife. She's so happy at home. At least I'll be relieved of her. Jibumba said, your wife? So he went to the house and told his wife, your husband has pulled me out of the well. That stupid man did not have used his brain. Who asked him to go near the well? Anyway, what do you want? I have come here to eat. Eat me! Okay. On one condition, you can eat. You have to go and clear all the fields. You have to make it nice. Then you come and eat me. I'm here. Where will I go? Believing her, Jibumba went. And it was just like a snap of his fingers that it went. It cleared. Ramlingam was surprised. What magic has happened? He came running and told, you see, I don't know, I didn't do it. She said, I know that Jibumba has done. But he's going to come and eat you. But I will send you to. You are here, I can ask Jibumba to eat you. How you can be such an unfaithful wife? Then you work something. Thinking, oh my God, the Jibumba came. Now I'm going to eat you and your wife. Ramlingam said, so you can eat both of us, no problem. But do something. At least people will remember you. You are such a big, giant ghost. Do something good and then you can eat us. He said, tell me what? You have enough cleared the field. Why don't you prepare the land? It prepared in no time. Why didn't you sow some seeds? It did, watered, and the crop was up. Then it was a time of harvesting. It did that. Everything was done. Then it said, now what? Oh, confused. It's doing everything now, just like a snack. I don't know what should do. He will eat me or my wife. My wife is also okay, but he's going to eat me. What should I do? What should I do? Ramlingam's the best friend, the dog. Okay. Now you are able to do all the work like this. One last work. You do it. Then we are here too. You can eat me. You can eat my wife. Also my pet dog. Bonus offer. She was quite happy. I said, what? He said, the dog there. You have to straighten its tail. That's the only job. That's not a job at all. So he went. He just held the tail of the dog and he left. It would spring. Again, he would pull and hold it, leave it. It would again like a spiral. He did. It would spiral. It again curved back. Again he pulled. Again it curved. Again. He went on for days and days and days. I was tired. He said, Ramalingam, please put me back into the well. I was happy in the well. I don't want to do all this taming here, that dog's tail. That's not my job. You need not feed me, but put me back. And he said, come. That's really nice. So he took Jibumba back and put him inside the well. That is my story.
Whoa! Wow, that is a scary mask and a wonderful puppet. Padmini, you always keep us so entertained. Oh, let's give a wave of appreciation for the spooky story from Padmini. Thank you, Padmini. And I have to say thank you again to Ansuk, Sika, and Padmini, because where you are, it's late at night. And you should already be in your beds, I think. Although I think in Nepal and in India now it's festival time, isn't it?
Yes, but it's almost over.
Over.
Yeah, it's over. But there's a festival tomorrow called Chhat by the Tarai people. Yeah, that's the last one tomorrow.
Okay.
Oh no, not tomorrow, Sunday. Sunday,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that the same in India, Padmini?
Yes, we do have the same Chat Puja, but not in South India, in North India,
Ah,
not here in South India. But this time it is for us Kartik Mas, wherein you have all the lights being lit
all the lights.
and lights and all throughout the month, and worshipping of Lord Shiva will be more this month.
Yes. Yes. Lots of festival of fire and lights. And of course here we have Halloween. And you might notice, oh, Jack-o'-lantern is following me around today. He keeps changing. So right now we're going to move further west. And we're going to come to a time zone that's only 2 hours different from where I am in England. We're going to come to Greece, to Evi Caridi. Evi,
Hello,
are
everyone.
you there?
Hello, everyone.
Hi,
I'm going
Evi.
to tell you a Greek story, the story of Harmena Ghost. It's a story that I've heard from my friend's grandmother. So whenever we visited their village, which is in the mainland area of Amphissa, she used to tell us that story. And it recently was added to the intangible cultural heritage of Greece. And every carnival time, there is a big festival in the area of Amphissa about this story. And this is how my friend's grandmother would start the story. There is a story in Greece that seems unreal, but everyone here knows it is real. And that is why they keep telling it again and again. Because stories come from real life. So, this is the story of Harmena Ghost. There was a young man called Kostadis who lived in this village. He was handsome and tall and proud, and he worked as a tanner. He took the skin of animals and made beautiful leather. He was poor, but he didn't care. He worked hard and he only cared about Lenyo. Ah, Lenyo. Lenyo was a pretty young girl from the village. She was the personification of beauty and kindness. She loved Kostadis and Kostadis loved her, and they made dreams together. But Kostadis was poor and couldn't marry her. One day, he loaded his truck with lots of leather and left. He traveled from village to village to village to sell his nice leather. And after some months, he returned with a nice ring for Lenyo. It was such a beautiful day, and Kostadis was so excited. He ran all the way to Lenyo's house, shouting, Lenyo, Lenyo, I'm back, I've got a ring. But as he was getting closer, his heart froze. He saw a dark cloud above Lenyo's house and the shadow of death. He got worried. Lenyo, Lenyo, where are you? He screamed in agony. Lenyo is dead, Kostadi. What are you saying, neighbor? I've got a ring for her. We've got dreams. We're getting married. Kostadi, listen. Lenyo went to Harmena Spring, where jasmines grow, to get some water. But the weather suddenly changed. It became dark, and there was lightning. And thunder. And the wind was blowing hard. And another lightning struck, and Lenore didn't have time to hide. She was killed there at Carmena Spring, right next to the jasmines. Lenore! Cried Constadis and ran all the way to Carmena Spring. He no longer had dreams. Sorrow, pain, and anger got into his heart until it cracked. His poor heart broke, and Constadis died there at Carmena Spring, right next to the jasmines. But his soul could not rest. It kept howling and crying for his lost dreams and for Lenore. Lenore! Lenore! It soon changed shape and turned into a man-like creature, very tall, thin, and dark, with long arms and without a face. Only a creepy voice that cried, Lenore! This is Carmena Ghost, and every time there is a thunderstorm, it remembers Lenore and feels lonely, so it starts walking through the streets of the village and always follows the same route, from the spring to Lenore's house and back, always howling and crying for Lenore. Lenore! And if you are there, you can also hear the sound of the chains that keep Carmena Ghost trapped in the village. Shh. Listen. Can you hear the chains? Lenore! And this is the true story of Carmena's ghost from Greece.
It's a true story. Lenore!
Lenore!
Everybody, let's say it. Lenore!
Lenore!
A troubled soul.
Evie, this is your first time telling a story at the World Storytelling Cafe. It's an amazing debut. Let's give a big wave of appreciation for Evie Karidi in Greece. Fantastic. Fantastic. Oh my goodness, there are now 2 spirits on my shoulder. Oh, it's getting scary here. Are you okay, Louis? Thumbs up? Yeah, everything. Oh yeah, we're surviving. Everybody okay? Wherever you are in the world. If you want to, you can draw a picture of one of the otherworldly beings in the stories. And I would draw a picture of the one in that story because, you know, I'm not great at drawing, but that one doesn't even have a face. So even I can draw it. Yes. Yeah, if you draw a picture, then, oh, God, if you've got any way of sharing it with us, that would be amazing. Maybe you can. But right now, we are... Well, one thing I want to say to everybody is our friend Geraldine Nanjala from Kenya wants to tell a story tonight, and she's having problems getting into the Zoom, probably because of technical problems over there in Kenya. So can we all send spooky, magical wishes so that Geraldine might be able to join us here in the room before long? But now we are going to Italy, to our good World Storytelling Cafe friend, Simona Stambazzi. Or is it a witch?
Hello everyone. I'm here today to tell you a story from Italy. A story I discovered just a couple of weeks ago when David asked me to come here. But as soon as I read it, I knew this was the right tale to tell you. And this story is about an Italian ogre. Just one technical thing. Can you hear it? Perfect. Fiorella lived with her mom in a tiny cottage next to the woods. And it was carnival, time to celebrate and time to eat fritters. But Fiorella's mom went to Fiorella and said, "Oh, Fiorella, we've got a big problem. I don't have a pan that is big enough for us to make fritters." "Well, Fiorella, I think I've got a solution, but can you help me?" "Yes," said Fiorella. "Oh, Fiorella, please go to Barbazuccon's house. Go to Barbazuccon's house and ask him for his big pan." "What?" said Fiorella. "Barbazuccon! Oh no, Mom! Barbazuccon! He's an ogre! He's got big red eyes, sharp white teeth. He's got spit coming out of his mouth. And Barbazuccon, oh no! Barbazuccon, when he gets angry, he eats children in only one bite. Oh no, Mom, please don't make me go to Barbazuccon's house." "Well, Fiorella," said Mother, "well, I think that's the only solution because we can't make fritters without a big pan. And we can't have a big pan if we don't go to Barbazuccon's house." "Okay," said Fiorella. "I'll go, Mom, don't worry." And Fiorella started walking in the woods. And she walked, and she walked, and she walked, and she walked. And while she was walking, she thought, everything's going to be all right. I just need to be kind with Barbazuccon. I just need, well, not to make him angry. And soon she arrived at Barbazuccon's house. And she saw his door, and her heart started beating hard in her chest. And Fiorella took a deep breath. She raised her hand and she knocked on the door. "Arr!" came a growl from within the house, and big steps coming to the door. And the door opened, and there was Barbazuccon. "Who are you? And what do you want?" "Oh, hello, Barbazuccon. I'm Fiorella. Hello. My mom sent me here because it's carnival, and we don't have a pan that is big enough for us to make fritters. But please, Barbazuccon, can you lend us your big pan? Please." "My big pan?" said Barbazuccon. "Yes, I will lend you my big pan, but to one condition. I want you to give me a basket full of fritters." "Of course, Barbazuccon, I can do that," said Fiorella. And she took the pan and she ran back home. She gave the pan to her mother, and her mother cooked the fritters. And Fiorella ate the fritters, and they were delicious. The following morning, Fiorella took the pan and a basket full of fritters, and she started walking in the woods. And she was walking in the woods when she smelled the delicious smell of the fritters coming out of the basket. And she thought, well, just one fritter. Surely Barbazucon won't notice. She took a fritter from the basket and she ate it, and oh, it was delicious. And she walked in the woods. And she walked, and she walked, and she walked, and she walked. And she thought, well, just another one. Surely Barbazucon won't mind. And she took the fritter from inside the basket and she ate it, and it was delicious. And she walked, and she walked, and she walked, and she walked. And from time to time, she would take a fritter from the basket and ate it, and another fritter and eat it, and another fritter and eat it, and another fritter and eat it. And she had almost reached Barbazucon's house when she looks at the basket and she saw that the basket was empty. Oh no! What did I do? What did I do? Oh no! Now Barbazucon will become angry and he'll eat me in just one bite. Oh no! What did I do? She looks around, trying to find a solution. She looked to her right. She looked to her left. And she saw a donkey. And next to the donkey, on the ground, she saw some donkeys poo. Well, so Fiorella, that's the only solution. She took the donkey's poo and she put it in the basket, and then she covered the basket with a napkin. And she walked to Barbazucon's house. She saw the door and her heart started beating fast in her chest. And she put the basket on the floor. She put the pan on the floor. Then she raised her hand. She knocked on the door and she ran away. And she ran 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 and Mom! She screamed, Mom! Please help me! Please, Mom, help me! Oh, what did I do? What did I do? Her mom asked her, what happened? Mom, oh, Mom! And she told her all that had happened. Don't worry, said her mother. I'll find a solution. No, Mom! Mom, you don't understand! Don't worry. I'll find a solution. All afternoon long, her mother sewed. And she sewed a doll. And then she took a plate from the kitchen and she smashed it. And then she took the pieces and put them inside the doll. She took some pins and put the pins inside the doll. Then, when it was evening, she put the doll inside Fiorella's bed. She told Fiorella, come here, come under my blankets, and don't move, don't speak. And Fiorella's mother pretended to sleep. And surely, when it was dark, big steps came to the house. Fiorella! I am here to eat you in only one bite. And the door of the house opened. And a smell came into the room. A smell of donkey's poo. And big steps went closer to them. Barbazucon stopped, looked at the shape inside Fiorella's bed, and he ate it in only one bite. Ah! He screamed, ah! Ah! And he ran out of the door. Mom? Fiorella came out of the blanket. Mom, you saved me. Thank you. Yes, Fiorella, I saved you, but I hope you learned your lesson. And I hope that Barba Zuccon learned his lesson. And for all those of you listening, remember that stories do not exist to tell us that monsters exist, because we already know that. But stories exist to tell us that monsters can be defeated.
Oh, let's defeat those monsters, all of them. Oh my God, so many monsters in this room now, but we are defeating them one by one, aren't we? And you know what? The power of our spooky magic has worked, because not only has Geraldine arrived in the room, but also Mindy Neo has arrived in the room. So 2 storytellers have arrived who we were waiting for. And what we'll do, we'll go to Geraldine Nanjala first, and then we will go to Mindy. Is that okay, Mindy? Okay, so we're going to go to our good friend. She was here just a couple of weeks ago, all the way from Kenya. Geraldine Nanjala is going back to tell us a story of an otherworldly being. How are you, Geraldine?
I'm fine.
Wonderful to see you.
Wonderful to see you too.
Please tell us your spooky story of an otherworldly being.
I was told this story by my grandmother. My grandmother loved stories. And she told me that long time ago, when people were not many in our area, there lived a woman. She did not have a family, but suddenly she disappeared. They did not know where she had gone to. She disappeared. And people in the village looked for her everywhere, in the bushes, in the forest, in the grassland, but they did not find her. It was very sad that she had disappeared just like that. They stayed for some time, and they thought of looking for her again. She was nowhere to be found. They forgot about her. Then there were boys who were playing in the village. These boys were used to playing. Every time after breakfast, they went to play. They played and came back in the evening. So it was a habit. They went to play, played and played, and they went back. It was a habitual behavior that nobody would ask them. Those boys were of about 12 years of age. So these two boys were friends. And now this time they went to play on the road. That road was leading somewhere in the forest because everywhere was bushy. And as they played, they saw something shiny, shiny, a chain, and it dropped on the road. And that shiny chain, they followed it. As they went to pick it, they found it ahead of them. They ran to pick it. They again found it ahead of them. So each time they bent to take it, it was moving ahead of them. They did not see how it was moving, but they found it just ahead of them. So one of the boys said that he was going to intercept it in front of, intercept. So he ran. One of them was behind, the other one was in front. The chain was in the middle. As they bent to pick it, it was ahead of them, and they kept running. It was about 4 in the evening, and they kept on following it. So they did not look up to see whether it was getting dark. They were focused on the chain. And they went that way and went and entered in the bush. So when they entered the darkest part of the bush, that is when it became even brighter. On realizing that it was dark, they couldn't go back to their home. It was terribly dark. They could not even see each other, but they touched each other and they saw somewhere, a light somewhere. They moved to that house, knocked at the door, and a woman opened. The woman asked the boys, "What have you come to do here? Why have you come here? How did you get here? Where are you from?" And the boys shivered. "Oh, we don't know how we have come here. We don't know. No, just let us in." And the woman told them, "This is an Ogi's house. You will be eaten." And the boys were breathless. They could not even move. They were just being pushed. The house was full of metals in one corner, old metals, scrap metals. And on this other side, there was firewood, a heap of it. And the woman said, "I'm not going to give you anything. The man is about to come." And then they had the woman took one of the boys, hid him under the scrap metals. And the other one was hidden in the heap of firewood. Then the woman said, "Come in, my husband, come in, my husband, come in, my husband." And the man came. He sat down. "Can I serve you some meal?" The man said, "Yes." He was given the meal and he sat there eating. Then the woman said, the man said, "I can smell some meat. I can smell some strange meat. I can smell some strange meat." The lady said, "From where? I have served you all the meat that I have." Then he said, "All right then. All right then. If you've served me all the meal, it is all right." Then he smelled again. "I can smell some meat. I can smell some strange meat." "How? Which strange meat, my husband?" "I can smell some meat, strange meat from here, somewhere here. I can smell some strange. This is not what you have served me with. I can smell some meat." Then he decided to wake up. He stood and went at the heap of the firewood. And he said, "I can smell some meat." Then a big rat moved from there. And he said, "Could that be the meat?" The woman said, "Could be." Then he said,
Unmute, unmute. We want to smell the strange meat too. Unmute.
You're muted, Geraldine.
Geraldine, switch on your microphone, please.
Unmute. We are afraid. We are still afraid.
We're all afraid.
"I can smell some meat." "Can smell some meat." He went there again and removed some firewood. Then he saw a hand. The boy was so afraid. Breathless. Breathless. Hey. Then he pulled it from there and said, "This is the meat, my wife. You are cheating me. This is the meat. This is the meat. But it is a very thin meat. This is very thin meat. I cannot eat this. How did you get in here?" And the woman said, "How did you get in here? How did you get in here?" The woman said, "I even don't know how this meat got in here. I don't know how." Then she said, "Then I cannot eat this thin meat. What you will do, you will have to feed it and fatten it first." Then the woman agreed. But so the man went to sleep, and the following morning, he left to hunt. The woman did not want the children to be eaten. So she decided to run away. This is the woman who had disappeared from that village that time. And they ran and went back to their village. Everybody was very happy. And the boys were given a very big party. That is the end of our story.
Wow. Thank you, Geraldine. I think I can speak for everyone. We were really frightened. That wonderful mask of the ogre. We had two ogres in a row. We had Simona's ogre from Italy, and then we had Geraldine's ogre from her culture in Kenya. Wow, Geraldine, thank you so much. And we're so glad that you could come and join us. And if any of you want to hear
Welcome.
Geraldine telling more stories, just watch the recording from 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, was it, when Geraldine told stories on a Friday evening, stories for children. All the archive recordings are there available for you at the World Storytelling Cafe website. And all of you young people, whether you're watching live with us or actually on Halloween, don't be afraid, but do listen with somebody nearby just in case. And if you want to do a picture of one of these otherworldly beings like that ogre in Geraldine's story, then do. We'd love to see them. But right now we're going to skip back from Kenya all the way across Asia to Singapore, to Mindy Neo. What time is it, Mindy? It must be past midnight.
It's 2 a.m.
2 a.m. Please tell us a late night story, but be careful because in the early hours of the morning, you never know what might happen.
Thank you, David, and thank you everyone for being here. And this, my dear children, is the sound of a Malay drum called the kompang. Can you hear me? Now, this drum is used during Malay weddings in Singapore. And actually, it makes a very interesting sound. But what is more interesting is the story behind this, how this drum came about. Well, you see, long ago, there was a village in Singapore. And in this very village, there was a tall, ancient tree. And the people in the village really wanted to get rid of this tree. But not because it was blocking the village, but because every night a haunting melody would float out of that tree and put everyone in a deep slumber. Now, the next morning, when they woke up, they would find the bones of chickens, the bones of goats at the bottom of this ancient tree. And the people were wondering, how did this come about? What happened? Why? Now, they couldn't figure out how to stop this tree from making them fall asleep. And so the village chief decided enough was enough. It was time to do something. So he grabbed his spear and he ordered the men in the village to surround that ancient tree with flaming torches. That's what he did. And when all of them were around that tree, they all threw their torches into the tree. And with that chilling, haunting music, it became louder, came out of that tree. and it cast a spell on those that were nearby, causing them to fall into a deep sleep immediately. But there was one villager, his name was Ali, and he couldn't hear well, he was deaf. And with the music, he was not able to sleep, but he saw a gigantic snake slithering out of the tree. It had red, patchy skin, and it slithered out of that crackling, charred branches of that tree. He looked at his friends. Wake up! Wake up! And then an idea came to him. He went to a nearby well and he quickly took a bucket of water and he splashed that cold water on the men. And all of them started to rub their eyes. Oh, what happened? What happened? But before anyone could answer, the snake sprang on them. All the men, what they did was they took their weapons and they struck that reptile. And they struck it and struck it. But that snake, he had a chunky body that was hard as rock. And so all the men were so tired and they were so exhausted that they decided to run away back to their homes. Now, the music could still be heard at the background, and the snake slowly went back into that tree. That night, the villagers all had a vision. They saw that the snake could only be destroyed if it was killed by special firestones, which would burn whenever the water was added to them. But they had to wait. They had to wait till the next month, till the wicked serpent would drift into a deep slumber. Now, days turned to weeks, and in time, at the appointed time, the villagers gathered around the tree, and this time they had stones, fire stones, that they had heated in the fire and brought them, and they all just threw and threw and threw the stones, and the tree shook violently and burst into flames, and a part of the snake slithered out. A slew of arrows hit the snake over and over again, but you see, it continued to mesmerize the men with its music. They were smart enough to stuff their ears with cloth. And so the snake or the tree could not put the men to sleep. Well, this time they used their arrows and they released it into the snake, and they used all manner of weapons to cut it and kill it. And so that snake, unable to put the men to sleep, quivered and collapsed onto the ground like a dead log. The villagers, they were satisfied, and they decided to punish that evil snake. They took it and they skinned it. They stretched its skin on a bowl and began to beat this bowl. And as each person struck the skin, it made an interesting sound, and played out together, it was actually very delightful. But it also reminded the villagers that Whenever they hear the drumming, they will recall the trouble, the sound, the trouble it brought, as well as the beauty that it created.
Mindy Neo in Singapore. Oh my goodness, the beauty of the drum coming out of that monstrous skin of the snake. Mindy, what do you call that story?
A local legend called the snake and the banyan tree. The banyan tree is an ancient tree here that can be found in Singapore, and it's believed to have a lifespan of over 1,000 years. It can grow up to 30 meters.
Yeah, the banyan tree. So much magic and mystery and folklore around the banyan tree. Thank you so
There are
much.
other stories, right? There are other stories on the banyan tree. I think I've heard them.
Yes. There's a lot of spiritual, significance of the tree, and a lot of people don't want to cut it down because of the spirits they believe that reside in this tree.
So we're traveling around the world telling stories of otherworldly beings with all these friends who I know through the crest courses that I run, these wonderful storytellers and mostly teachers. And, well, you, teachers and children around the world, you're enjoying the stories, whether live or at Halloween. And you can always get in touch with us and let us know what you think of these stories. Right now it's my turn. I'm in Exeter, in Devon, in the southwest of England, and near Exeter is Dartmoor, a wild place, a high place with craggy rocks called tors made of granite. Let me tell you one of the many spooky stories of otherworldly beings from Dartmoor. There was a woman called Morada, a woman who they said had magic powers. She could heal. Perhaps she just knew how to use the herbs that grew among the rocks. Perhaps. But she had the power of healing, and whenever anyone had any difficulty, they came to Morada. Please, Morada, help me. My child is sick. But Morada was not loved. How much silver will you pay me? Said Morada. There was nothing that Morada loved more than silver. The people mistrusted her. She lived outside of the small village of Holne in a wild part of Dartmoor. However much Morada loved silver coins, she equally hated storms. And that night, late autumn, the sky grew darker. Well, of course, night was falling, but the clouds covered the bright shining moon, and soon the rains fell, and thunder and lightning. Morada took to her bed, pulled the covers up to her chin. She trembled with fear of the storm, but there as she lay in her bed she heard, Morada, Morada. I will not get out of my bed for anyone. It is a stormy night. Morada, I need your help. My wife is giving birth to a child and she needs your help. Morada, I will pay you in gold. Well, Morada loved silver. She hated storms, but more than either of those, she craved gold. And Morada got from her bed, went to the rattling window, threw it open, and down below in the raging storm she saw a small figure seated on a great black horse. Look, Morada, a bag of gold for you, if you will come and help my wife tonight. She looked at the shape of that little fellow. But she could not resist the gold, and in spite of the storm, she put a cloak around her shoulders, went down the stairs, opened the door, and that little man was so strange, pretty somehow, with a black curl of hair over his forehead. He wore fine velvet clothes, beautifully made. He beckoned to Morada. "Here is the bag of gold, Morada. Put it safely. Now come with me." Morada was pulled up onto the back of the horse behind him. "Hold on tight, Morada, and put this blindfold so you cannot see." Morada put the blindfold around her eyes. She couldn't see a thing. She held on to the little fairy man, and the horse began to gallop, clattering over the granite stones of the path across the moors. Morada held on tight. The horse gathered speed as if it was flying through the storm, so fast that although it was raining heavily, not one drop fell on her head. She rode with that little man far across. It seemed like an age before finally the horse slowed down, and clatter of hooves on granite, and she was helped down from the horse, the bandage taken from round her eyes, and there in the half light she could see little faces of little people glimmering in firelight. And she was led by the little fairy man into a small flagstone granite room, and there was a little bed, and in the bed was a little woman who was straining in childbirth. And Morada went to work, and she used her craft and her skills and the herbs that she had brought, and soon a little dot of a baby was born to that woman. "Ah, thank you," said the fairy man. "My wife and child are well, but see how the baby has squinny eyes. Morada, take this little pot of ointment. Smear ointment on the baby's eyes tonight and in the morning for 3 days, and then your work will be done." And the little fairy man left the room, and Morada took the little pot of ointment, and she looked at the little tiny dot of a baby's little eyes, and she put that ointment gently on the child's eyelids. Well, the next morning she did the same, and the next night and the next morning, and she looked after that little woman, and she learned a great deal, that she was the daughter of the fairy king, and that she and her husband had been banished from their land to Dartmoor for 1 year and a day. Why? Because she had married against her father's will, this little fairy man. But at the end of 1 year and a day, and that would be soon, they would return to their home in the world of fairies. Well, Morada's work was done, and the baby's eyes were clear and bright and could see well, that little child. And the little woman thanked Morada. Morada was blindfolded again. The little man helped her onto the black horse, and he rode swiftly, galloping back across the moors, and this time there was no storm. And that night when she arrived at her home, she was carried down from the horse, the blindfold removed, and the little fairy man said, "Morada, you will not see me again." "Morada, remember that pot of fairy ointment? Have you still got it?" "No," said Morada. "Well, if you do find it," said the little man, "remember that none other than a fairy may use it. Remember this, Morada." And the little man rode away on that black horse, and Morada was exhausted, and she took off her cloak, and what fell from the pocket onto the ground? To her surprise, when she picked it up, it was, yes, you know, that little pot of ointment. "What is it about this ointment?" said Morada. Well, Morada loved gold, but she also was full of curiosity, and forgot the little warning she had received, had unscrewed that little lid and dabbed a little bit of that ointment on her left eye. strange, prickling sensation. Morada went to her bed and she slept until the morning, and when she rose from her bed, everything in the room seemed clear and brighter. Each item of furniture, the little cupboard, the bed, the table seemed brighter and larger and throbbing, vibrant with life. She threw the door open, and there in the morning sunshine, everything was so clear and shining and glimmering and beautiful. And then she looked, and although the sun was bright in the sky, she could see every one of the stars shining as well. Can you imagine? The sun and the stars all at the same time? Such beauty. Morada walked into Holm, the village, to get some provisions. She had gold coins in her pocket. She would treat herself. But when she arrived at the marketplace, she looked around at the stalls. Everyone looked so beautiful. But there at the bread stall, what was that? There was a little fairy man that she had seen, the man that had taken her to his wife, and he was stealing bread. Why didn't the baker see? And then there he was taking apples from the fruit stall and meat from the butcher's. In plain sight he was robbing them. And Morada said, "What are you doing?" "Morada, you can see me?" "Of course I can see you," said Morada, "clear as day." "With which eye?" said the fairy man. Morada closed her left eye, and the fairy man was not there. But when she closed her right eye, there he was again, and all the world bright and shining. "With this eye," she said, "I can see you. You have disobeyed. You took the fairy ointment." And with a stroke of his hand across her face, Morada could see him no longer. Morada had been struck blind in her left eye for disobeying the warning of the little fairy man. "You will not see me again, Morada," she could hear his voice. "Hold out your hand." Oh, Morada was afraid, but did what she was told. And into her hand dropped another little bag of gold coins. "Morada, my wife is glad for the treatment you gave her. Here is your reward, but you will never see with your left eye again." And she heard him laughing, a high laugh like birdsong, as he left her. Morada walked home. Now she had 2 bags of gold. But I ask you, good people around the world, what would you rather have? All of that gold or the sight in your left eye? The last little boy I told that story to said, "Definitely the gold." Ah, one day you'll learn, one day. Now, boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, my good friend Vera Cabrera Duarte from Brazil said to me, "David, I want to be there. I want to tell a story, but I will be in a meeting. I will be teaching at that time." "But, Vera," I said, "no problem, because I have the video recording already of you telling the story of Curupira. Because last year when I did the project Around the World in 88 Tales, Vera told the story of Curupira, the most famous of all of the spirits of the Amazon rainforest. And right at this time in the world, girls and boys, this is an important moment for the Amazonian rainforest. And it is Curupira who protects the wild nature. So would you like to hear the story, the legend of Curupira? And put your thumb up if you can hear. Hang on. I just got to get it playing.
of the forest. 5 hunters decided to hunt in the Brazilian Amazon forest. They were very happy, preparing to enter the forest, when a woman approached and said, "Please don't go inside. There's something in there. It's dangerous. You shouldn't hunt." Well, the hunters were very good friends. They just looked at each other and went on hunting. So they entered the forest, and the leader said, "Ignore her. She doesn't know what she's talking about." A friend of mine came to the forest and he returned with food for all his family. So let's hunt. And you see, no signs, no different signs. Everything is very normal here. No sounds, different sounds. So let's hunt. When he said it, they all heard a whistle. Coming from different directions. The leader said, "Is there anyone with us here? Is there someone else here?" No answer. But then the leader saw some footprints on the ground, fresh footprints. And it was very intriguing. And he said, "Well, it's strange because as far as I know, nobody entered this forest before us." But then the whistle sounds continued. And louder this time, and coming from more different directions. And then one of them said, "We'd better go back." So they remembered what the woman had said. Said, "No, we came here to hunt. That's what we are going to do. Let's go." But then he saw something different. This is mine. He thought it was the animal. So he tried his weapon to shoot, and then this thing disappeared and then appeared somewhere else. And then he said, "Can you see it? Can you see this?" And then he was very surprised. They all saw a boy in front of this creature between the trees. It was a bit dark and dense at that point. And they saw the boy. So, a boy. The boy had red hair. They looked at his face and he had green face tint. The boy smiled. His teeth were green too. When they looked closer, his feet were backwards. And when the other hunter prepared to shoot the creature behind the boy smiled, and in a split of time, everything became different. The forest lit up with creatures, spirits, witches, lightning, thunders, and the whistles from all directions. They were terrified and they said, "Run, let's go." But the creature started, together with the boys, chasing them. And they started to run. They were desperate. They were running through the trees, but they didn't know where to go. They were absolutely disorientated. They were in panic. But they ran as fast as they could. And finally, they were at the same spot where they entered. The lady was there, the woman was there, and she said, "I can see you met Curupira. Curupira is the guardian of our forest. You are not allowed to hunt more than you need. Curupira protects evil people like you from stealing and taking more than it's necessary. Thank God you survived. You must thank. Well, the hunters vowed not to enter into the forest again, at least to hunt for pure pleasure, except for one of them. This man went into the forest to hunt on the following day, and he was never seen again.
A
Beautiful.
warning, Curupira.
Beautiful.
Be respectful of nature. Not only a reminder to Brazil, but to all of us, all around this wonderful world of stories. Before we come to our final storyteller of the night, Gustavo von Bischofshausen in Lima, in Peru, let me just say a few words. This evening you've heard stories from many different parts of the world. And these stories, if you know any teachers, if you know any children, perhaps you can share with them the link to today on Facebook or on YouTube, so that you have a chance to watch this, to learn about stories from many different cultures, about otherworldly beings, because all of us can relate to these stories, even though they come from cultures that are maybe very different from our own. So I'm just going to show you some of the countries where you've heard stories from this evening. So we started in South Korea with the story from Ahn Suk Kim. And then we travelled to India. So that was the Shinbone ghost in Korea. And oh no, we went to Nepal next, where Siku Gurung told us a Raksha story. And then we had more magical stories from the south of India, from Padmini Rangajaran. And then we zoomed over to Greece, and we had from Evi Karidi the wonderful story. And then we went down to, we went to Italy, didn't we? To Simona Stambazzi, who told us about Fiorella and Barba Zuccon. And then we were lucky to go to Kenya. And in Kenya we had that terrifying ogre story from Geraldine Nanjala. And after that, we skipped all the way back to Singapore to listen to Mindy Neo's magical story, The Snake. And then, where did we go after that? Was it me next? Yes, it was me, wasn't it, in England? And I told the story from Devon of the fairy ointment, a story that's told in many versions in different parts of the British Isles. And then we skedaddled across to South America to my friend in Sao Paulo, Vera Cabrera Duarte. And we're going to end our journey. But you know, there are so many stories that we haven't been told from all over the world of spirits and otherworldly beings. But we're going to finish our journey in Lima, in Peru. Oh, what a journey around the world. Mr. Gustavo von Bischofshausen in Peru, please tell us the final otherworldly being story of the evening.
Thank you. Well, concerning Vera told a story about this guardian of the rainforest, and it's very interesting because this in here in Peru is called the Chukiyaki. the Chukiyaki, and has the feet are back, and it's also the guardian of the forest. And whistling is very important in the rainforest area. So the story that I'm going to tell you about is about El Tunchi. El Tunchi is a very fearsome being. He's a troubled soul. They say that he's a troubled soul. Some say that he's a troubled soul that retraces his steps and for the life he has had. Maybe some things he had done bad or good, but some say he comes like a bogeyman in England. But the thing is that this being whistles, and it has a very low whistle. It's like this. Do you hear? Do you hear? So this being, people are very, very much afraid of it because it brings death. It's really malign. Well, the story happens in Iquitos. Iquitos is the capital of Loreto in Peru. And this story happened many, many years ago. Not so many, but last century, perhaps at the first half of the century, when Iquitos was very dark. It was very dark. And this happened in the neighborhood of Belén. Belén is a poor neighborhood and has a big cemetery, big graveyard, big cemetery in the city. And the story concerns two people. This man called Ramiro Taminchaba, he was a baker. Actually, he was not a baker. He was a delivery man of bread. And that's why I have this thing, because he had a basket on the back part of his part, and he carried this basket, and this thing like that carried the basket. So that's why I'm putting this on. It's not the Tunchi. The Tunchi doesn't look like that. So now I put it off and continue with the story. So this man used to deliver bread very, very early in the morning. He got up he had a very big family, so he had to feed them, and he had to he had to get up at 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning. I went to the local bakery, and he took the basket of bread on his back, and he worked from more or less 5 or 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock. He finished. He went delivering his bread, and he went through numerous streets. So the other one day he went early, and he had a very special way of advertising his bread. He would say bread like that, like pregón. You say that in Spanish, pregón. I said, panes, panes, panes calentitos, panes, panes. Pan is bread in Spanish. So that's the way he advertised the bread. So this day he was advertising his bread, and in the meantime, it was also the time that there was the local police stations there near, and there was this man called a very young policeman called Timoteo, but his name was Timoteo. But in the Amazonian region, they used the many names. They put on the shh, like you say, Timoteo was called Timoshenko. Like Santiago is called Shanti. So the shh is very present in the names you put on the people. So this Timoshenko was he had with another policeman, he had to cover up the area of Morona Baja, that is very near where the graveyard was. So and they whistled also the other policeman went to one street, and the other he went, and something happened that they had three whistling sounds. So each one, so Ramiro was going on the street, and this time he had to go to the near the graveyard. See the big graveyard, and he was just walking the graveyard, and he was saying, "Panes, panes, panes calentitos, panes," and suddenly he heard, "Troy, Troy." He was really very afraid, and he also heard, was more afraid still. So he thought maybe it's nothing. So he had to continue calling, no? Panes, panes calentitos, panes, panes. And again he heard, Troy, Troy, coming from the graveyard, from the cemetery. So he was very much afraid. And he just run up to Libertad Street, and he was coming to Mariscal Castilla's street, where Timoshenko was coming. So he found Timoshenko, and Timoshenko said, what's the matter? What happened? And he told him what happened. And he didn't want to go again to the cemetery, but the policeman said, let's go, please, let's go to see what happens. So they went away, and they went to the cemetery, and they said, repeat, say it again. And he said, panes, panes calentitos, panes, panes. And then they heard the voice again, Troy, trae carajo, trae carajo. And they just went inside the cemetery, and they found in the tombs, it was a drunkard. It was a drunkard. He had drunk so much that he had to sleep. So he went inside one of the tombs, and he was sleeping there. And that was the noise that they heard. So Timoshenko and his friend got a big laugh. And Don Ramiro was much relieved, because it was not the Tunchi. So Timoshenko and his friend took the drunkard to the jail, and Don Ramiro went back distributing to deliver his breads and telling the people what had happened. And that's why I know the story now, because it has been through the time told. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Gustavo. There was nothing to be afraid of in the end.
And I've got to thank you, David, for bringing such an amazing collection of storytellers to us at the cafe. Each and every one of you have been absolutely amazing, and such a great mass of horror stories from around the world. Fantastic, humorous, scary, fantastic, brilliant. Thank you, David, once again.
Oh, thank you for having us, John, and thank you, everybody. Thank you, Louis, for joining us. And I'm sure all of us really enjoyed listening to each other's stories, and all of you just enjoy sharing these stories.
And I must mention what's coming up on Sunday, because we've got a special Black History. It's the end of Black History Month in the UK, and we've got a Black History Month special on Sunday at 7 o'clock UK time. And remember, the clocks change in the UK. 2 o'clock on Sunday morning, so it will be a completely different time on that. They're going backwards by an hour. And there's a Black History Month special that's going to be Baden Prince, Yusuf Jallo, and some guy in Washington D.C. Oh, Babasi. Yes, and possibly others, but we know those three for now. On Tuesday, of course, and if any of you, you're all teachers, so if any of you have got young storytellers, and I don't care what language they tell the story in fact, I like the music of language. The stories don't necessarily have to be told in English on the cafe. And we have our young international tellers, so any teller under 25 years old, and we're from primary school up to young students come on, but that's 5 o'clock UK time on Tuesday evening. So, and you get on that exactly the same way as you get on this with the gold button. And I know some of you have tried really hard tonight and had to go. There's internet problems and all kinds of things, but you've gone in and out, but you've done magnificently. And of course, and next Friday, it's Deborah Weller, I think. So from the USA. From
John?
Yeah.
I got a question because
Yeah.
the Americans are a little confused. Sunday, you guys go back an hour.
Here we go.
So
Back.
does the difference become 6 hours for me?
You'll have
or
to
4 hours?
You'll have to Google UK London time and Washington DC time, but it becomes
Yeah, we're definitely twins. Neither of us know.
for the moment it becomes an hour less than it was.
Okay, that'll be 4 hours. And
Yeah.
then I think next, and then on the 6th, we go back. So
Yeah.
it becomes 5 hours again.
Yeah.
Okay.
John, can I just have a last word? It's Halloween coming up. The 1st of November, the Day of the Dead, in many parts of Latin America and around the world. We've talked about fire festivals and spiritual festivals in India and Nepal. So let's celebrate this time of fire and look at all these spirits that have gathered tonight during the stories. But we'll wish them all away again.
I could use
Respect
some
them,
spirits.
but let them go on their journey. So, many thanks to all of you. Could everybody just unmute and let's all make a spooky sound together?
Taxes, pay your taxes, pay your taxes.
Thank you, storytellers.
Thank you, Waleed, for playing.
Hey, Louis.
Thank you, Wally. Thank you, Louis.
Stop it tonight.
Happy Halloween!
Oh, look at Tammy's been carving a pumpkin while we've been telling stories, and there it is. Fantastic.
All right. This is great. This is one
Okay.
of the best
I think we need to all get together at some other point. I will arrange with David for another big get together on the cafe, because have you all enjoyed it?
Oh yeah. Most
Yeah.
definitely.
Very much.
Would you like David and I to arrange another big meetup on the cafe? Maybe we can do. We used to occasionally do one on Saturday mornings, so it wasn't the middle of the night for the people in the Far East. We'll maybe do one of them, but we'll get together again. Meanwhile,
This was great.
good night, happy
Absolutely.
Halloween, everybody, and thank
Happy
you.
Halloween!
Beware of things that go
everyone.
bump in the
Oh,
night.
look at those masks.
Happy Halloween!
Keep sharing the stories.
Hey, Congress never
Happy
catch
Halloween,
you.
everybody.
Happy Halloween, everybody. My dad was born on Halloween.
Really?
Yeah, and I made the mistake, and David, you'll appreciate this. I asked him if he was a treat baby or a trick baby. He
Depends
never
on-
answered the question, but he did ask me. He says, wait a minute, isn't your birthday April 1st? Which it is not. Which is it is not, you know. But anyway, thank you. This was really, really enjoyable.
That's awesome.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, yes. And next time I've got to tell. Oh, I'm got to get in
Nice to
contact with you.
Nice to meet you, Raj Shankar. Nice to meet you.
I need to catch up with you
Thank
because I
you
want
so
to take
much.
the course. All right. I'm going to be quiet.
Bye, Marika.
my mix. Oh, it's working now.
Yeah, we
I
can
was
hear you,
just
Malaika.
typing
To be
because
continued.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. It was wonderful here. Thank you for the great evening, everybody.
All right.
It was a wonderful evening.
Yeah.
Thank you
made
so
me
much.
forget-
Thank you, Raj.
made me
Thank you,
forget I wasn't
Waleed, for
feeling well.
hosting.
Yeah, Waleed, thank you very, very much.
And thank you, Mwana in Tanzania. Mwana, it was great to have you here from Tanzania. I almost asked you to tell a story, but I know it's difficult with the video. But next time, yeah? All right, I'm leaving now. Bye.
Waleed, you know what you got to do? You got to flick the switch. But let me say my line. See, out.
So our next meeting will be this
Well, you
Sunday?
know, Raj, every 2 Sundays, so is it not this Sunday, but the next Sunday at what time? Is it 7 p.m.,
It's
isn't it?
7 p.m.
7
But this
p.m.
Sunday we
UK
have special.
time. Every 2 weeks, there's a worldwide story round. So if you would like to come to that, Raj, you could come not this Sunday, but the Sunday following. But it's very late where you
Right.
are.
But you're welcome to hear our
I will be
special
joining.
Sunday.
I will be joining.
And you
I'm
can
loving it.
And you can tell a story.
Oh, that's great. And I would like to join the courses that you offer.
All right.
If
We'll
please permit me.
We'll communicate by email about that.
Right,
Sheikha's given me your email address. Okay.
How can I give you my email address? Shikha gave you?
Sheikha gave me your email address. So I will email you soon in the next few
Thank you.
days.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Raj. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care. So once again, Waleed, it's you and me.
So
So
next Sunday, not this Sunday, if I can get the timetable, next Sunday,
7 p.m. UK time.
7 p.m.
UK time.
UK time. Is it the alternate Sundays?
It's like kind of, yes. It's like every 2 weeks, every fortnight.
Every fortnight. And Tuesdays? No.
Tuesdays at 12 a.m. for young storytellers 25 and under.
Once again, please.
Tuesdays at 12 p.m. British time.
Tuesdays.
But it's for young tellers, but you're more than welcome to come and listen.
Yeah, I have a daughter. I have a daughter who is even she loves stories. She loves to tell stories. She writes stories as well.
Well, she's more than welcome to do so on Tuesdays.